math webinar. We're going to be doing the skills that you're going to need in order to pass your teacher certification exam. So I'm just checking to make sure I'm live everywhere, and I am. Good. And I am excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for coming to this webinar on a Saturday. I know you guys are probably slammed with holiday things and your kids and your own life and your students, and you all coach and you do all this stuff. And so I'm really grateful that you're here with me today. So let me know where you're from. I see some people. We've got Renata from Louisiana, and Andrea from Louisiana. We've got people from Indiana, Anya. We've got Illinois, South Carolina. So let me know where you're from. It looks like everybody can hear me and see me. Let me know if you can hear me and see me just fine. Today, we're going to be going over the math skills you need to pass your teacher certification exams. So there are lots of prospective teachers out there who are trying to get certified and get their professional certificate. And you guys are having to take the Praxis Core or the elementary education math or the 7813 or whatever it is. And the math is really hard, especially if you're a career changer and someone who is like, maybe you were doing something else like I was. I was a bartender. I had a degree in English. I was a bartender. And then at about 26 years old, I said I should probably try to get a different job, even though I loved bartending. And I ended up teaching because that's what my mom suggested and all of that. And it was really cool. And I ended up loving teaching, and here I am today. But many of you are doing the same thing. Maybe you were working in communications or you were doing something else and you decided, you know what, I want to become a teacher. So we call you a career changer. And career changers, sometimes it's difficult because you haven't seen this math in like 20 years. You haven't been, figuring out the equation of a line since you were a junior in high school. And that might have been some time ago. For me, it was almost 30 years ago. So, you might be a little bit rusty. Also, those of you may be math teachers. We may have some math teachers in here who want to see, what's going on with these exams and see if we can get some strategies to our students and to our fellow colleagues and things like that. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on here today. My name's Kathleen Jasper, and I can see we've got people here from Michigan, Virginia, Massachusetts. That's where I'm from, Robin, the Northeast, Mississippi, Rhode Island. Awesome. I have been working to help teachers pass their certification exams for the last decade. I started in 2015. I left public education where I was a teacher and then I was a curriculum person, and then I became an assistant principal. And I left that job and I started my company here, and I've been doing this for the past 10 years. And there are a lot of teachers who struggle with the math. So we're going to focus on that today, and I'm going to work with you guys on that today. Okay, awesome. So with this webinar came a free study guide. Now, if you are watching me on social media right now, you can get the free study guide by clicking the link and like putting in your email and all that. We're going to get your email if you're going to get a study guide, right? So put in your email and you'll get the free study guide and then a bunch of resources. You'll also get this replay link to play on demand. Those of you who are live inside the webinar, you will get a email once this is over with everything we talk about and the replay link. If I mention a video, if I mention a resource, it's going to be in the email because I have a colleague. Her name is Yana, and she is in the chat here with you today to help you. And she will be sending an email. She's listening to all the things I say. And when I mention a video or a resource, she types it and she makes sure that that email that goes out after this webinar is over has all the stuff that I talked about in it. Okay. So we already have your email. If you're in here, we're going to send it to you. If you're on social and you want to get on that email and you want to receive that stuff, click the link in the description and it'll take you to that form and you'll be on our email list and we'll send it to you. Okay. You don't have to give me your emails inside the webinar, guys. We've got them, but thank you so much. Okay. Let's see. I'm Kathleen Jasper. I'm glad you're here. We're doing math, follow-up email. Oh, if you're watching this recorded in the future, you already have all this. The links in the description and everything are going to take you to where you need to go. Okay? All right. So quickly, if you have the study guide in front of you, fantastic. If not, don't worry about it. I'm going to project everything on my screen today. Okay. And I'm actually going to I'm doing everything in context today. I like to do everything in context. So when I talk about something, I'm going to take a problem from the study guide and use that problem to describe what's happening, right? And how this is assessed on the exam. I'm very heavy on strategy and thinking like a test maker, not a test taker. So we are going to do some shortcuts, but I'm also going to explain the math. All right. We probably have some math teachers in here. Hopefully we do. Hello, math teachers who are really good at this stuff. If you see any questions in the chat, math teachers, that I don't see because I'm going to be sharing my screen and doing math, answer them for me. Help me out. Help your colleagues and things like that. Okay. Also, there's nothing I love more than doing math live on the internet. It's so much fun because you have to make sure you don't make any mistakes, because if you make a mistake, then somebody gets in the comments, 3 weeks from now and calls you an idiot, all those things. So I'm going to take it pretty slow. I've been, making sure that I'm not making any mistakes. But what my focus here is how to pass your certification exams. And I want you to pass these tips on to your students as well, because many of them have to pass exams at the end of the year, 3rd grade reading, 10th grade math. They all have a state assessment at the end of the year. And what I talked to you about today are universal test design elements that when you know them, you are a better test taker, you have less anxiety about the test, and you can look at the items on the exam sort of with a bigger lens, and you can figure out what's going on and have a better chance of passing, okay? Now, the next thing I want to say very quickly is there is no such thing as left brain and right brain, and I'm better at left brain stuff, and I'm better at math than I am at English, or I'm an English person, not a math person. Those types of stories are things that we've been telling ourselves for a long time that are just really not true. We use both sides of our brains. What happens early on is that we become successful in math and we say, oh, I like math. And then we do more math and we get better at math, right? And then we start to believe I'm a math person, right? And other people perhaps have an easier time writing essays, or they have more fun in grammar class, or they like the reading and the writing. And so they say, I'm an English language arts person. All right. Those things are not true. You are both people. It's just that you prefer one or the other. You can certainly get really good at math, and you can certainly get really good at English if you feel like you're not a good English person, but you are not one or another of those things. In fact, artists way back in the day and many artists today are also mathematicians. When you start to practice something and work at it, you get better at it, period, end of story. Now, there are some exceptionalities like dyslexia and dysgraphia and dyscalculia, where we might have some things that impede our ability to do math as quickly or as easily as other people do it. But you can still get good at math even later in life. I got better at math when I started doing test prep for math. So just know that. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to run out and be a math teacher tomorrow, but saying I'm not good at math is just not true. You can get good at math. You may not be good at math right now, but you can get good at math. And I'm going to show you how to see things on the exam that'll help you. Now, people are asking, will this be applicable for pre-K through 3rd? Yes. So the math I'm going to be talking about today, you are going to see it on the Praxis Core or the general knowledge or any kind of basic skills test that many of you have to take. I'm going to show you some of that in a second. This is also elementary education math. The elementary education math is really hard, especially if you are not someone who has been engaging in math in the last 15, 20 years, right? You maybe have done something different. There are a lot of very complex math concepts on that exam. Also in tests like the 7813, the 5008, and other elementary math exams, they assess your ability to identify the skill the student is lacking. And that can be really difficult, especially if you're struggling with just the basic math concepts. And now you have to figure out what the student is struggling with when you yourself are struggling in the math. So I'm going to show you all of that today. Okay. So if you've got some questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat. I'm going to do my best to answer them. Teachers of Childhood Part 2. Brenda, you're asking me about that. I'm not sure about that exam, but here's the deal. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Math exams cover similar things. There are typically 4 skills that math exams cover. They cover number and operations. They cover algebra, geometry, and probability and statistics. Now, as you move up in the grades, they get more complex in those areas, but those 4 domains are typically the ones that are assessed on a math exam, regardless of the exam, whether it's your students taking the exam, whether it's you taking the exam, whether it's SAT, ACT, GKT, Praxis Core, whatever it is, those are the skills assessed. Now, as you move up into middle and high school and then eventually college, those bigger skills like algebra and geometry get broken down into much more nuanced skills like trigonometry, pre-calculus, things like that. We will not be going over that today. I am not going to be doing pre-calculus live on the internet in the year of our Lord 2025, but I will be doing some other easier problems that you will see on your more basic math skills exam. Okay. Is everything on the Praxis course similar to the ACT, SAT? Very good question. And you have your email as your username. So I'm not going to, I think your name might be Anne. Good question, Anne. The Praxis core, the general knowledge, and other teacher certification exams in math, those basic skills tests that you have to take in a lot of states, are aligned to the ACT and SAT, but the ACT and the SAT are a little bit harder. I would say the first 30 or 40 questions on the ACT are similar. Anything after that, you start getting into trigonometry and pre-calc, you're not going to be doing the same stuff on the Praxis core. And for SAT, I would say probably the first 17 or 18 questions in module 1 and the first 17 or 18 questions in module 2. These are all different math exams, but they all cover the same thing. Okay. All right. Let me hop over to my presentation, and you're going to see this presentation today. You're going to get it in the follow-up email when I'm done. So don't worry about it. Don't try to write everything down. You're getting this in an email and a PDF. You can print it. You can keep it on your computer or whatever. And you'll have that. I basically took the problems from the free study guide and broke them up into categories. I'm going to be working through them, and I'm going to be jumping around a little bit to go with this. Also, I cleaned up the study guide slightly. If you downloaded it a long time ago, like maybe yesterday or the day before, I fixed the spacing and some things that were problematic with it that I didn't like. I didn't like the way it looked. So I re-uploaded it. So if you want to download it again in the email, the new and improved is in the email. It's a minor change. It's a spacing. I just fixed the spacing. You don't have to download it again, but it will be there. Okay. All right. Let me share my screen really quickly here. So I'm going to share here, and then I'm going to go over here. All right. This is what we're working with here. This is your free study guide that you got with the sign up for this webinar. I'm going to be using problems, and the problems that came from this webinar are coming from I'm way zoomed in. Sorry, I wanted it to be zoomed in. This is my Praxis Core 3rd edition math study guide and my elementary education math 5003. Now, if you're taking the 7813, we're going to talk about it. If you're taking the 5008, we're going to talk about it. If you're taking any other math exam, it doesn't matter, because here they are. They all cover the same stuff: numbers and operations, algebraic thinking, and geometry, measurement, data, statistics, and probability. For the 5003 exam, they combine geometry and data, statistics, and probability. For the Praxis core, I have to look. Sorry, let me scroll down. This is my textbook here. Okay. Notice they do it a little bit differently. Let me just zoom in here. They have number and quantity, and their section 2 is data interpretation. This is statistics and probability. And then their third one is algebra and geometry combined. But notice that the 4 domains, the 4 content categories are the same. And you will see this across many math exams. Okay. They all do the same thing. Now let's talk about, let me just go here, what that means. Okay. So let's go. Oh, I should have done this first. Okay. Let's go with the objectives. I tell teachers, go over your objectives before the presentation. I almost just skipped it. So today, now that you know what we're working with, we're going to understand the content domains of the exams. All right. And again, you're going to get this whole a presentation in the email. All right, let me just move this down slightly. So we're going to understand that. We kind of talked about that just now, but I'm going to get more into it. We're going to identify the types of questions that fall under each category. Understanding the type of math you're doing helps you in terms of finding the correct answer. I'm going to show you what that means in a second. We're going to apply that knowledge to solve those math problems. And we're going to think like a test maker. You guys, you got to think like a test maker, not a test taker. And let me go ahead and tell you what that means, sort of. Let me stop sharing really quickly. When it comes to math, a lot of times, and I do this every time, and I do the test prep, and I make this mistake all the time. I'll see a math problem and I'll immediately start to work it out, because that's what I've been taught. I've been taught to work out math problems, right? So have you. And so rather than looking at the answer choices where I could probably get the correct answer within 15 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds, because there's a really obvious answer choice in one of them and all the rest couldn't possibly be the answer, I spend 5 minutes on working out the problem, getting turned around and messed up. So there are a lot of shortcuts that you can take, but it's about visualizing the math mentally, using your answer choices, looking at the item as a whole, not just looking at the first sentence, then the second sentence. Think like a test maker, work backwards, look at those answer choices first. Are they in whole numbers? Are they in fractions? If they're all in nice whole numbers and you start working out the problem and now you're in decimals, you know you're on the wrong track. Abort mission and get back on track, right? So looking at the problem as a whole is going to help you. So think like a test maker, not a test taker. Okay. Emily asks, is a 7003 the same as the 5003? Yes, they are identical. The specs are identical. So you're in the right place. If you're here for math, you're in the right place. Okay. All right. So let me go back. I just wanted to drill that into your mind that, we want to think like a test maker. We want to be strategic. All right. Now, if you're taking a math class and you're teaching math, I recommend you do both. You teach the strategy, how to get to the answers quickly, and you also teach the real math. And we're going to do a little bit about that today. All right. So let's first talk about numbers and operations. This is the first content category you are likely going to be responsible for on most math exams. All right. This is everything from place value to PEMDAS. All right. Reasonableness of answers, exponents and roots. It can get really complicated very quickly. Numbers and operations are considered like the foundation of math, right? This is going to be anything from fractions, percentages, decimals, ratios, proportions. PEMDAS, this is operations here, numbers and operations, right? And this particular skill is going to infiltrate all other categories, because you might get a word problem that focuses maybe on PEMDAS, but there's some algebra embedded in there as well. So you're jumping to the algebra section. So just understand that a variety of skills are being assessed in one area. And also try not to just memorize math questions on your teacher certification test prep study guides. We don't know what question you're going to get. It could be a word problem. It could be a figure. It could be an actual expression or an equation. And you have to know how to do it several different ways, okay? And I'm going to show you that in a minute. All right. Now, even test takers who struggle with algebra often miss points in this category because of small procedural errors. They're trying to get you on the tiny stuff, the negatives, distribution, PEMDAS, order of operations. They'll try to get you on these little multi-step things, all right? Let me show you what I mean. All right, so let's have a look at number one. This is the one that I fixed in the study guide. So if this doesn't match your study guide, you've downloaded the old one. It all matches. I think on the old one, this is 0.49. Okay, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all the same. But download the most recent study guide because I fixed one little problem, which doesn't change the right answer. But all right, so let's think about this. This is a numbers and operation. This is numbers represented in different ways, right? And I know if you already know this, you're like, oh, I already know this. I want to get to the slope intercept. We're going to get there, but I want you to understand that this is embedded in so many other questions. Okay, so first things first. I can see this right here. I want to zero in on this. If I'm thinking like a test maker, I can see that we need to go in ascending order. And I know that 0.45 is actually less than 0.45 repeating. Why? Because 0.45 is 0.450000 onto infinity, right? And that is less than 0.45454545 into infinity. Okay? Because this makes it slightly bigger. So right away, if I have this in front of this, I know it's wrong. So B and C are out because we're going in ascending order. That means we're going from like 0 to 100. We're going up. And if we're going up, we have to start with the smaller one and move towards the bigger one. So B and C are out automatically. Now you could sit there and put these all in your calculator and put them into decimals, and you can totally do that. It works, but it also helps to visualize this, right? Now I've got 7/25 or 3/5. Which one do you think is bigger? Well, 3/5 is, visualize that, 3 out of 5 or 7 out of 25. This is a tiny slice of the pie. This is a much bigger slice of the pie. So the 7 has to go in front of the 3/5. So that gets rid of D right away because 3/5 this is descending here. Well, with a little bit of ascending. This is descending, and this is ascending here in D. So D's all mixed up. A is the correct answer. Let's have a look. All right. Now, if I were going to put all of these, hold on. Let's make it easy. If I was going to put all of these in decimals and put them in order, this is what it would look like. Now, you get an on-screen calculator for these, all right? I'm not using an on-screen calculator for live math because it's annoying because, you know, when you're doing the mouse and you're trying to click it, you should also be able to use your keyboard on their calculator on screen. And I recommend you put when you're at home, if you're really kind of test anxiety ridden, I want you to put that on-screen calculator. You can download apps on your computer. It also comes with your computer. An on-screen calculator comes with your computer. Just leave it open on the side while you're doing these problems and use that mouse or use your keyboard to simulate that, because that can trip you up if it's the first time. So I'm not going to do that because it's annoying and I'm live. So let's just put A in order. Okay. So all you have to do is take 7 divided by 25. That line right there means division. Okay. So that's 7 divided by 25. So that's 0.28. The next one is 0.45. The next one is 0.45 repeating. And that next one, all you have to do is that's 3.0, right? Quick tips. That's 3.0. What is 30? What's 30 divided by 5? That's 6.6. Okay. So this is 0.60. We bring them all out to spaces, right? We've got place value here. We've got decimals here. We have fractions. We have repeating numbers. There is an array of numbers and operations and number sense being assessed here, right? And you can see that A is going in ascending order. But we got to that answer before we had to type anything into the calculator and turn them into decimals. All right. So just look at this thing as a whole. Because if you don't, you're going to waste time. So try to see that. And I always, right here, this is a gimme. This 0.45 and 0.45 repeating. Now remember, they probably won't do it this nuance, but which is bigger, 0.45 or 0.45 this? Well, this is actually greater because this is 0.454545, and this is 0.455555 onto infinity, right? So again, we have to understand that when the line goes over the 4 and the 5, it repeats the 4 and 5 together, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. And if it's just over the 5, it's 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 all the way. And of course, looking at place value, you have to understand which one's bigger. But if you can figure that out immediately, notice you got rid of B and C right away. And then, you can easily figure out that D is out because they're all mixed up, right? And you grab A and move on. All right. So that's a type of number sense. This is also a type of number sense. And this is a type of question that you'll see on what issue does the student have? Let me know in the chat if you're taking like the 7813 or another test that is all about like the student's process, the student's math process. It can be really hard, but you're going to be teaching math. If you're an elementary teacher, you're going to be teaching math. You have to understand what the process is, right? So you might see something like this, or you might see a step-by-step problem. I'm going to show you one of those, which is, I put it down here. towards the end. I'm sure you've seen these. Where did the student make the mistake? That's also a number sense problem because we have to deal with numbers. But I'm going to do this one first, okay? This is number 10, all right? And you can see here we have a lot of operations in this expression, okay? Now, an expression does not have an equal sign. An equation does. It doesn't really matter here. We need to figure out what step we do first. And this is a PEMDAS question. Okay. Order of operations, PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, for those of you who grew up when I grew up, right? I'm sure they still do it. Now, it starts off with parentheses, exponent, but here we go. Multiplication and division come next, but division can come before multiplication if it happens first in the equation or the expression. And addition and subtraction are last, okay? But just know that a lot of people do it like this. PEMDAS. Sometimes they write it like that to show that you can do the multiplication. You could switch the multiplication and division, but addition and subtraction cannot come before multiplication and division. This is the order. Now, when you see another mistake people make, this right here is parentheses. This is what needs to be done first. The answer is B, subtraction, because 18 minus 9 is inside the parentheses. Let me tell you, taking this 2 and distributing it is not parentheses. When you see parentheses, think inside the parentheses. Is there an operation inside the parentheses? When you take this 2 and you distribute it, that's multiplication because you're multiplying 2 times 18, 2 times negative 9. You just jumped like a bunch of steps. Now, sometimes it'll work out. Sometimes 18 minus 9 is 9, 2 times 18 is, or 18 minus 9 is 9, 2 times 9 is 18. No, it wouldn't work because if you do 2 times 18 minus 2 times negative 18, I don't know. I don't want to do it live, but just know that you don't want to skip any steps. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, okay? But you don't want to chance it. So right now, the first order would be, and let's just do it together, 18 minus 9, which is 9. So I would do this. I like to bring everything down when it comes to order of operations because, you start skipping steps and you do them out of order. Now we've done the parentheses, check. Are there any exponents? No, check. Now it comes to multiplication or division. Well, which one comes first? 2 times 9. That's the next one. So 1 plus 18 divided by 6. And that would be 19 divided by 6, I think. Let me just make sure I did all that right. Yeah, that comes out to be a weird number, but it's not asking you to solve it. It's asking you to, actually, it wouldn't be a weird number. Do you see what I almost did there? I almost did the addition, and I'm teaching the class. See what I mean when you're nervous and you need to slow down? What comes next? 18 divided by 6. What is that? 3. 1 plus 3 equals 4. Take it from me. I've practiced this 3 times today, and I got nervous because I'm online with you guys, and I almost did this first and then did division, and they're betting on that. So just slow it down. But subtraction would be the first. Remember, the operation inside the parentheses, not distribution. Distribution is multiplication, and that's where a lot of people get tripped up, okay? Okay. Let's go to the next thing. All right, so now we're talking algebra and algebraic thinking. Now, this infiltrates all content categories. You're going to see algebra across all areas. And of course, it's going to be paired up with that number sense and numbers and operations. So this is going to be expressions, equations, inequalities, solving linear, and sometimes quadratics, although on your exam, you're probably not going to have quadratics. If you're taking the middle or high school exam, you're definitely going to have quadratics, but hopefully you're not in this course if you're taking the middle and high school exam, because if you're taking the middle school teacher certification exam for math, if you're taking the high school math certification exam, you need to have a math background. That is my position, because you are teaching students who have to pass a math exam to graduate high school. You have to be schooled in math. Doesn't mean you can't be that kind of teacher someday, but you have to have a math background or be very good at math. because they're relying on you. The other stuff you can get through. You can be, like you can teach what I'm teaching here. You can learn the math for a specific content area, but if you're teaching middle or high school, you really need to have a solid grasp on these things. And if you're in my webinar and you teach middle and high, let me know and help me answer questions in the chat, because you are probably much better at math than I am. Okay, you're going to have slope, rate of change, and linear functions. You're going to see slope on the 5003, you guys. It's not easy. It's a rate of change. And we're trying to teach students at a young age, sort of the data analysis of it all and understanding graphs, and slope is part of that. But I cannot believe when I saw this, when I first started teaching, the 5003 and other elementary education exams a long time ago, I couldn't believe how hard the math was. And it is. And because they're doing it in fifth and sixth grade, the math is much harder than it was when I was in fifth and sixth grade. Okay. Pattern recognitions and functions. And functions tend to be easy. The term functions freaks people out. And I actually have an example of one of those today. All right. Now, another thing that happens, many exams present word problems where you have to turn them into algebraic form. And a lot of times you'll see this with like less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, somewhere in the answer choice. And just based on what is happening, you can zero in on the right inequality to use. I'm going to show you in context in a minute what that looks like. All right, so let's see what a algebra problem looks like here. Now, you may see something like this. You see tables. Oh my God. You see all these variables. You see the word function. And if you're someone who struggles with math or who has math anxiety, you're immediately like, no, hard no on this one. But it's actually a simple algebra problem. You're just plugging in. Now let me pull this down slightly so you can see. I can see on my phone that the top of it is like cut off a little bit. So I just moved it down slightly for you guys. Hopefully you can see it a little bit better there. So I am going to have a look at what's going on here. So I see that I have tables. I have this equation here, or function. It's actually a function, but it is an equation. It has an equal sign. There are variables there. And the tops of the table, or the headings of the table, match what's going on in here. So I'm going to rewrite it just so you can see it a little bit better. It's G of A, that's how we say that, equals A squared minus 4. Okay. All I'm going to do is take what's in these columns here and plug it in and do simple arithmetic. All right. It is algebra because we have variables, we have the word function, but really we're just plugging in and seeing what works. Okay. And I'm just going to start with A. This is one where they're trying to slow you down. Think like a test maker. Look at all the different tables here. They're sort of all variations of one another. Notice how we have this here. This is a little different. C is almost identical to B, -2. 0 is in the first, -1, -3, -1. You see how they're similar? So as we start to solve, we can start to eliminate. Look at the problem as a whole. Put on your big glasses. Look at this with a big lens, okay? And don't get nervous. Just explore and say, what am I doing here? How can I solve this, all right? So I'm going to plug in. Let's start right here in this row here. So G of A is -4. So this is going to be -4 equals, and A is -2, as you can see here, right? So I'm just going to do -2 squared minus 4. Notice they're very simple numbers. They're not giving you like huge numbers that you have to like bend over backwards to figure out. Simple arithmetic. Let's keep going. We have, what is -2 squared? -2 times -2 is 4. 4 minus 4, does that equal -4? No, it doesn't. 4 minus 4 is 0. Right? So right away, A is out. I'm not going any further with that. And if I want to go to B and I'm thinking strategically, notice that I have -2 and 0 here. I already did the -2 here, and I know that 4 minus 4 is 0. That makes this correct, right? Because what I would do is, this would be, sorry, it took me a second to, this would be 0 equals -2 squared minus 4. So that would be 4 minus 4. Does 4 minus 4 equal 0? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So the first row is right. Let's keep going. All right. Let's keep going. So we have -3, because I'm taking this G of A, -3 right here, equals -1 squared minus 4. Well, what's -1 squared? -1 times -1 is 1. 1 minus 4, does that equal -3? Yes, 1 minus 4 equals -3. Awesome. We're on a roll here. Let me get rid of this so I have some room. Hang on. Just want it's been a minute since I've done math online. Sorry, guys. All right, we've got the second column, check. Third column, 0 to -4. All right, so G of A is going to be -4 because that's this right here. Remember, put it in the right spot. Make sure, just double check, equals 0 squared because A is 0 here, minus 4. So we have 0 times 0 is what? 0 minus 4. Does that equal -4? Yes, it does. Looks like we're on the right track here. And then we have 4 and 12. So let's go. 12 equals 4 squared minus 4. What's 4 squared? 16 minus 4. What's 16 minus 4? That's 12. It works. B is my answer, and I can move on. Sometimes you might want to start from the bottom. I tell people who I'm training for or helping with ACT and SAT, because they get really kind of crazy. Start with D, work backwards, go with this 0, 0. See if this 0, 0 works. Do something easy. And if it doesn't, it's out. D is out. You can jump around. If you're not as skilled and you want to keep it one at a time, that's fine too. But just try to look at this. It looked really complicated at first, didn't it? But it's not. It's just plugging in what's under each column here. And that's all it is. Simple arithmetic. All right. Okay. And that would be an algebra problem. All right. Now, I could do simple algebra. I could do simple inequalities, but I want to go a little harder because you are going to see these on your exams. This is a compound inequality. Notice we have 2 inequality signs right here and right here. All right. And this is going to be considered algebra. All right. So when we have a compound inequality, it's basically 2 inequalities. You're going to solve this just like regular algebra. You basically have an inequality here. That's 1. And then you have an inequality here. That's 2. Now, I didn't give you any answer choices here. And that will happen on the Praxis course. Sometimes you have to type it in to the little box. It happens on SAT too. There are ones without any answer choices. That happens. So let's figure this out. Let's break it up. So just when it comes to these types of things, I like to write them out. I don't like to skip. I know some of you are like, oh, just do this and just do that. I like to write them out to make sure that I am doing it correctly. So let's start over here. -6x, and be cognizant of your negatives, especially in problems like this. They're trying to get you to mess up on small mistakes, is less than or equal to 4x plus 6. That's inequality number 1. And let's do inequality number 2. You're basically breaking them up by the inequality signs. 4x plus 6 is less than 10. All right. And we are going to just solve them. We're going to get something where the x is in the middle, and you've got something like this and then a number on each side. Okay. I don't know which way the signs are going to go yet because I have to solve the problem, but this is what we're like looking for. Let's just say this is 7 and this is 3. The x is in the middle. I'm sure you've seen these before. All right. That's what we're trying to get to. All right. So let's solve the first inequality first. So we want to isolate the x. So we have x is greater than or equal to, or x is less than or equal to, whatever it is. And to do that, we want to subtract 4 here because we want to have one number on one side and the variable on another. When we do that, it cancels. This is just like an equal sign, you guys. It's the same thing as an equal sign. We're just doing algebra is all. Okay. There is one other thing we have to do with an inequality, but I'm going to show you. So we subtract 4 and we do the same here. Be careful. This is not 2x, -2x. This is -10x, because when we have -6 and we subtract -4, that's adding a negative. You're still going down the number line in the negative way. So this is -10. Be careful. Is less than or equal to 6. Now, what do I need to do to isolate the x? Standard algebra. Divide by -10. Cancels. Now, divide by -10. X is greater than or equal to. When you divide by a negative on an inequality, you flip the sign. Okay. And then we have -6 over 10, which is -3 over 5, right? Because if we divide both of these by 2, we get 3 over 5, and it is a negative because we divided by a -10. So x is greater than or equal to, let me fix that. Make it better. X is greater than or equal to -3/5. Be careful. Now, remember, just a recap, we divided by that -10. When you divide by a negative to get the X on its own, we have to flip the sign. It's just a rule. If you go through and see how it works, you can see why you flip the sign, but just know you flip the sign. I don't want to get into it live on the internet. I'm doing what I can here. Okay. So let's do the second inequality. We have our answer here for the first one. Let's do the second one. So we're going to subtract 6 because we want to get this X by itself. Whatever I do to one side, I do to another. This one looks like it's going to be a little bit easier because I have 4X is less than 4. Divide by 4, X is less than 4. So it's going to be X is less than 4, X is greater than or equal to -3/5. Notice that I put the X in the middle, so I have to make sure we used to call them alligator signs, are facing the X because that's the way it's written. X is greater than. -3/5 is less than X, right? So that's why this is that. Okay, I'm going to go back in the chat in a minute and answer questions. Let me just do one more inequality. Okay, you may get something like this on the Praxis Core and on the 5003 Elementary Ed. All right, I'm going to first show you a quick shortcut. Let's zoom in. See those two inequality signs? They're very blurry, but do you see them? Right here and right here. They are less than and equal to. Less than or equal to. Less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, those equal a closed-in dot. This is why you don't have to know the math perfectly in order to do well. Greater than or less than equals an open dot on the graph. Okay? So if I have two of those, I can get rid of any one of them that has an open dot right away. And I just gave myself a 50-50 chance, excuse me, of getting this correct. So let's say you're like, inequalities are not my thing, but I do know the circles. I do know the open dot versus the closed dot. Do that, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, grab the C and move on, or grab the B and move on. And you've just increased your chances from 25% to 50% of getting this correct. So little things like that can make a big difference on the exam, even if you don't solve it perfectly, okay? And 9 times out of 10, they don't necessarily even want you to solve this. There might only be one with 2 closed-in dots. I see it all the time where you didn't even have to solve the inequality, but you know what? I did because I was nervous and I saw an inequality and I thought, oh my God, I got to solve it. And then I realized, oh my God, there's only one with 2 closed dots. I could have been done with this in 30 seconds, or not even 30 seconds, 2 seconds. All right. So be looking at the thing as a whole. And I eliminated A and D right away, giving myself a much better time. Now, another quick tip is we don't have to solve the whole thing. Let's solve one side only. All right. Let's solve. And if we zoom in here, this is inequality number 1, and this is inequality number 2. Let's just solve inequality number 1. All right, I'm going to zoom back out here. Sorry. Oops, let's go here. All right, so let's keep it very, remember your negatives. So we have -5 is less than or equal to -4x plus 1. Okay. Solving it, we want to get the X on the right or on whatever side. In this case, it doesn't matter if it's on the right or the left. I just want X on one side and the number on the other. -1, we're going to subtract 1 here, get rid of it. -1, be careful. When I was practicing this, I went, oh, -4. -4 is less than or equal to -4x. Oh, it's 1. No, it's not. -5 minus 1 is -6 because you're actually adding a negative. Careful, careful, careful. They are anticipating you messing up. And I messed up and I wrote the problem. -6 is less than or equal to -4x. And I can see that it's not 1 because it's in between 1 and 2. If I'm looking at the answer choices here, you can see everything's between 1 and 2. So it's definitely not -1. There is no dot where -1 is the answer. So I could have caught myself that way too. All right, so I have -6 is less than or equal to -4x. So I'm going to divide by -4. divide by -4. What do I need to do when I divide by a negative? Flip the sign. So it becomes -4 into -6, and you can do it on your calculator. 6 divided by 4, 1.5. And notice it's positive because two negatives equal a positive. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Negative times a negative is a positive. So we're positive there. And we have to flip the sign. It's greater than or equal to x. X is less than or equal to 1.5. Less than or equal to, you're going down. You're going down. That's less than. Less than. X is less than. So right away, C is my answer. I don't even have to do the second side because B makes it greater than or equal to. Nope, it's less than or equal to, making C the correct answer. All right, let me just go back here and see if there are any questions. I do have a slope-intercept problem I'm going to do. Okay. All right, looks like you guys are answering questions. Let's see here. I'm just checking to see. You guys are helping each other. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Phoebe. There's some math people in here, or people who understand it that are doing really good. And some of you put the right answers in there. Very good. Okay. I always get less than and greater than signs mixed up. Okay. Well, here's one that works. Let me share my thing. And this is a normal kind of thing. I mean, these little signs are hard. And, people say, oh, sometimes if you were in a class, I talked to a teacher where something happened where the teacher was out and she had a sub for like 3 or 4 months or something during the time where it was like inequalities or something. And she never got the good foundation of it. And so for the rest of her life, it just was like an abstract concept that she never really understood. I mean, it wouldn't have taken much to understand it. She was very smart and she got it as soon as we talked about it. But like, I remember speaking with people and they're like, I didn't get this in school and I never followed up on it. And so now I have to take a test about it and it's there. Here's the deal. When you're looking at less than or equal to signs, okay, let's just make it X. When the mouth is pointing towards the X or towards something, it's greater than, right? It's big, it's open, it's big. When it's not open and it's small, it's less than. Okay. So X is greater than, X is less than. Now, if you had something like this, X is greater than -3/5 because the mouth is open towards the X, but -3/5 is less than X. So you can say it two different ways. You can write it different ways. You just have to make sure the sign is matching what the arithmetic is doing, right? But that's how you figure those out. And remember, I'm telling you guys, on this one, on the test, I bet if you see it, B has like an open dot here. And the only one with closed dots are C. And you would never have even had to do that. They just want to know that you know like the foundations, the fundamentals, and that would be a fundamental skill here. Understanding that less than and equal to and greater than or equal to are closed dots on the number line. All right, let's do one more. Now this one is slope-intercept. And I know, and I think somebody was in the chat, they were asking me about standard form versus slope. And you're like, whoa, this is on the elementary ed? Yes, it is. It's on the 5003, 7003, 7813 in different forms. Now, this is an area, what they're asking you, and this is why looking at the answer choices first is going to save you. What do most people do? They start here, they read the whole paragraph, and they're like, oh my God, I don't even know what's going on here. Oh God, there's a graph. Oh my God, there's this slope. What am I going to do? No. Forget the narrative at the top. Go straight to the answer choices, work backwards, think like a test maker. I can see right now we're working with slope. We've got slope-intercept form and we have standard form. What we want to do is think y equals mx plus b. And we want to focus first on the m. M is slope. And 9 times out of 10, you can find the answer by just looking at the slope. Look at this line right here. Now look at the graph. Which way is the line going? Down. This is a negative slope. Do you want a graph to look like this in your investments? No, it's negative. Do you want a graph to look like this for your bank account? Do you want this representing your bank account? No, it's negative. Negative slope. So the M has to be negative. We have to have that negative in front of the X, whatever M is. So let's have a look. Oops, let's get that out of there. Okay. Y equals 2x plus 60. Is the 2 positive or negative? It's positive. A is out. Now, I made this one hard on you. I try to make my math problems harder so that when you get an easy one on test day, you're ready. All right. But 9 times out of 10, they're all going to be in slope intercept. And you just have to, and there's only going to be one negative and the rest are going to be positive. Okay. But I made it harder on you. But let's look at C. C is in standard form. We need to turn it into slope intercept form, which means we have to isolate the Y. So now we have standard algebra. Let's change C into slope intercept form. All right. So I have a negative X here. I have to add X to get rid of it and bring it over to the other side, which I get 2Y equals positive X plus 120, right? Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And I get C, I'm changing C here. C is Y equals 1 over 2X plus 60. Let's do the same thing for D, even though we're going to be able to eliminate D. Because you can see I have an X here. If I have to put it on the other side, it's going to be negative X, right? This becomes 2Y equals negative X, right? Yes. Plus 120. Okay. And we've got divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And D is Y equals negative 1/2 X plus 60. So C is out because it's a positive and I'm left with B and D. And this is D and this is B. Now on test day, I'm telling you, there will only be one. Grab that negative and move on. In this case, I'm making both of these negative slopes for you because I want to make it slightly harder. Now, the next thing you can check is B. But I did make it hard on you. Notice that B is 60 and B is 60 here. B is where the line crosses the Y axis. And notice this is Y and this is X, right? It's just like a graph. So this is Y-axis, and this is the X-axis. Well, where it crosses is 60. Notice that the dot right there, see where it crosses there, is 60. Now, 9 times out of 10 on the math test, it won't be. It'll be like 20 or 80 or whatever, and you know to get rid of that because it crosses at 60. But I made D 60 also so that you would have to figure out the rise over run. What is rise over run? Probably haven't heard that in 30 years. If you're like me, you haven't been to high school in a while, right? Rise over run is Y up and down over X, back and forth. So rise over run. So let's take this slope here, negative 2X. It's really negative 2 over 1. So if we were to start at 60 here, and because it's negative, we're going to go down 2 and notice it's 60 to 50. So this is about 5 here. Let me change my, hang on. I got to change I need to make it thinner. All right. So this is 60 here. Oop, sorry. Right here is halfway, right? So that's 5. So right here is probably about 2, right? So if I go down 2 over 1, which 1 is like right around here, because this is 10 as well. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Notice that it's following the line down, okay? Now, if I go, let me make it a little thicker, sorry. If I go only down 1/2, it's going to be much less steep and it's not going to match. If I only go down 1/2, it's like right here over 2. Down over 2, down over 2, down over. Notice that the line is starting to come out this way and it doesn't work. Okay. So D is out. Oop, I need to increase my thing here. Let's go here. D is out, making B the correct answer. But I promise you, you are not going to have to do that much work. I just did it today because I want you to see like how it works. This is an equation of a line. A line can be represented as a line. It can be represented in slope-intercept form. It can be represented in standard form, and you have to move it into slope-intercept form. But 9 times out of 10, look for that slope. What is M? What is attached to X? Is it negative or is it positive? And what does the line look like? Is it going up? If it were going like this, that's what you want in your bank account, right? That's what you want on your Robinhood account or your Vanguard account or your investment account, right? You want that thing going up, up, up. That would be positive. But in this case, it's negative. So look for the negative slope. And I'm telling you, there will only be one. They don't even want you to know all this. They just want to know that you know what negative and positive slope is and that you understand y equals mx plus b. They might make you move it around to get, to take it from standard form, but even then it'll be easy. Notice that these numbers are also 2s and 1s. They're not going to have really, really tough numbers for you to figure out. All right, let me just go over and see where we are. This is taking a little longer than I thought, but hopefully you guys are finding value in it. Okay, scatter plots. Denise, scatter plots. Let's talk about scatter plots. Let me add I know I cover them in my Praxis core book. So listen, you guys, if you like this, I have online courses, books, everything you can think of. And the online courses, I do this. I talk to you and I go through every single question in the math, just so you know. So yes, the 5903 is so much work. Yes. Okay. So let me show you tips for scatter plots. Let me just show you what you probably are going to have to know for scatter plots. It's going to be very simple on the Praxis core. Okay. When it looks like this, it is a strong negative correlation. Because it's going down, right? When it goes like this, it is a strong positive correlation because it's going up and they're all concentrated like right on that line, okay? And if it's like this, notice that it's still going up, but it's not as tight as it is in the first example. That's a weak positive correlation. And if it goes like this, right, that's a weak negative. And if it goes like this, all over the place, no correlation. Now, correlation is not causation, and I'm not going to have this discussion now, but I just want to make that clear because a lot of people, when they talk about data, they talk about things that because they're correlated, that means like, oh, if one goes up, one must go down. If one goes up, the other goes up. Correlation is not causation. It means they're related. So let's take a look at this strong positive correlation here, okay? What that means is when one thing goes up, the other thing goes up. When one thing goes down, the other thing goes down. They both do the same thing. A negative correlation, this one here, means that when one goes up, the other goes down, or when one goes down, the other goes up. A negative correlation means they're mismatched. Positive correlation means they're matched. Maybe they're both going up, or maybe they're both going down. For example, let's say that the number of sports played, let's just say I'm going to do something stupid here. The number of sports you play, as it increases, so does your muscle mass. Okay. When the number of sports goes up that you play, your muscle mass also goes up. These are dumb things. I don't know if this is actually true, right? Okay. Or let's say the fewer books you read, the fewer brain cells you use. Again, not a real study. I'm just putting it in there, right? So if you read fewer books, you also have fewer brain cells, okay? Again, not true. I'm just using things live and whatever. Now let's do the negative and positive correlation. This is also data and statistics I'm showing you right now. This would fall under data and statistics. So let's say a negative correlation, when someone says this is negatively correlated, okay? What that means is when one goes up, the other goes down. So let's say hours of TV watched versus sleep. The more TV you watch, the fewer hours you sleep. Again, I did not do a study on that. I'm sure there's something out there with that, but right? Or let's see, or the number of miles you run, the fewer pounds you weigh. Although I was a runner forever, and that didn't actually happen either. When one goes down and one goes up, another negative correlation. Let's say hours of sleep. Let's say when sleep goes down, agitation goes up. Right? Those are things that are negatively correlated. So negatively correlated, when one goes up, the other goes down. Positively correlated, they're both moving in the same direction. And no correlation are all these dots all over the place. Hopefully that helps. All right, let's move on to geometry and measurement. Again, this is going to be 1, 2, 3 dimensional figures, proportions of triangles, quadrilaterals. You will have some midpoint and slope if you're on, well, I just did some slope. Notice that it's algebra and geometry, depending on the way you ask it. Transformations when things are moving over the coordinate plane, and angles, all right? Now, sometimes you'll be asked these questions in a word problem, like you have here. Now, you have a figure here. You always want to look at the figure. And just so you know, the answer choices are in your study guide. I didn't put them here because I want to have room to write. But as soon as you see this, we're thinking geometry, and it says surface area. So we're looking for the area of all the sides. This is a net. A net is something that when you unfold it, it's like a cube and you unfold it. This right here is a right triangular prism. The way they name prisms, and this is also in my book, is by the bases, and the base is a triangle, and it is a right triangle. That is important. All of that is important. Now we're trying to find the surface area, which means we have to find the area of this side, this side, this side, and these two triangles. Add them together and you get the surface area. All right. Now they don't give you everything. They give you clues and hints and other sides, right? So let's start with the easy ones, okay? Let's start with this side here. 8 times 7 is 56. All right. And if we do this one here, 6 times 8, because if this one's 8, so is this one, because it's a right triangular prism. So this side is 8 always, right? So 6 times 8 is 48. 5 times 8 is 40. If you just did this and you look at the answer choices, and again, I don't have the answer choices projected. They're in that free study guide you got. If you were to look at this, you could eliminate probably 3 out of the 4 answer choices. I did not do that. I made it harder for you. But on test day, because they just want you to know that you need surface area, you might not even have to figure out the area of these triangles. Let's just say you're like, oh God, I forgot area of a triangle. No big deal. 9 times out of 10, just by adding up the surface area you did know how to figure out, you could probably eliminate the answer choices. But let's go ahead and find the surface area or the area of these triangles. What is the area of a triangle? The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So you basically take the base times the height and you divide by 2. But I have 2 of them, so I don't have to divide by 2. I can find it once and just take both. That would be both sides, right? So I have 6 here for the height. 6 times, well, what's the base? Well, if I were to fold this thing up, this little side here would go right in here to that 5. 6 times 5 equals 30. Why am I keeping the 30 and not dividing by 2? Because this one would be 15 and this one would be 15. I don't need to do them both. I can just do one and not divide by 2. Adding this up and I get 174. Okay, again, don't get too worried about things. Again, do what you can. Keep looking at those answer choices. They might not even be asking you to solve any further. Okay, probability and stats. We're going to do a few probability questions, which I know you guys get really turned around on. A lot of people get freaked out about probability. All right, probability, mean, median, mode, and range. Typically, these tend to be pretty easy because the mean, there's like some outliers and stuff, and you can really figure those out. Bar graphs, histograms. Somebody asked me about scatter plots. We did that. Probability of simple and compound events. This is what I'm going to focus on today. This is what gets people tripped up. It used to get me really tripped up too. Basic statistical reasoning, like I just said, when one goes up, one goes down, correlation versus causation basics, stuff like that. All right, let's have a look at a simple probability question. Now, this is when moving quickly can get you messed up. We want to look at the answer choices, and I can see the word probability in the question stem. But we don't want to just do, 12 out of 16, 12, 16. Sometimes you're moving quickly and you see that 12 and you see that 16 and you go, part over whole, got it. No, just slow down a bit and make sure you read the question stem, because in the question stem, it says, if the die is rolled one time, important, because the compound events are multiple times, what is the probability of rolling a number greater than 12? Well, what's greater than 12 within the 1 through 16 range? 13, 14, 15, and 16, right? 4. 4 out of not 12. 4 out of 16, which equals 1/4, A. Now, you might say, that's easy. It is easy, but when you're stressed and you're moving too quickly, sometimes you make silly mistakes. I'm telling you, I write these questions and I put them in a study guide and I go to practice them for my presentation and I mess them up every time. The negatives I mess up, I move too fast. I think, I got this. I know what I'm doing. And then I go live and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? And I need a second. It's okay. I zeroed in. I thought like a test maker, right? I zeroed in on the answer choices. I see their fractions. Good to know. I see the word probability. I know probability is part over whole. I also need to know it's one time. So it's just a regular probability question. But the trick here is greater than 12, not greater than or equal to 12. Greater than 12. If it were greater than or equal to 12, you would add that 12 in there. It would be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? Okay. Let's do a compound one. This is where things get a little more complicated. This one's extra. I added it when I was working through this. So when you get the email from me today, you'll get this in the email. If you're watching in the future, you already have it. Okay. All right, let's do it. So we have, I got to give books away too. I'm giving books away. So I'll give a book away next after I'm done with this. Okay. So let's start. There's 2 problems here. Sorry, I should have, parse them out. But we have the probability of selecting a yellow marble at random is 1/4. How many yellow marbles are there in the bag? So this one's a little more complicated with the question stem. It's giving us the probability. It's asking us how many marbles. So we have 5 red, 7 blue, and some yellow. This is where you're doing probability plus algebra, plus proportions, plus number sense. Let me show you how this does it all, right? So when you are doing something like this, where you don't have the number of one of the things in the bag or in the whatever, right? Or on the die or whatever. We have 5 red, 7 blue, and some yellow. We're still dealing with part over whole. Set it up that way. Well, what's the part? The part we're looking for is the yellow marbles. How many yellow marbles are there? We're looking for that piece of all the marbles, the yellow. So I'm going to make yellow Y for yellow. Okay. So I'm looking for the Y. Over whole. Well, what's the whole? 5 red plus 7 blue plus Y. Now be careful. This is not 12Y. I do that too sometimes. That's not 12Y. It's 12 plus Y. If I want to write this even more succinctly, this is Y over 12 plus Y. It's not 12Y. 12Y is 12 times Y. Be careful. Now, this is where the proportion comes in. This is where the number sense come in and the algebra. It gave us that probability of picking a yellow is 1/4. So we set the fractions equal to one another and cross multiply. We get 4Y, because 4 times Y is 4Y equals, and then we just multiply 12Y by 1, right? And that's 12 plus Y. I'm sorry, we multiply 12 plus Y by 1, or we multiply 1 by the quantity, for my math teachers in there, 12 plus Y. All right, we're cross multiplying. Just so you know, this is the proper way to say this is 1 times the quantity, 12 plus y. It's not 1 times 12y. So just be careful there. I notice I said it the wrong way. Of course I did, because I'm live doing math online. It's so fun. Okay, now we're going to use our algebra. We're going to isolate the y. We need to figure out y. Y is yellow. This is the answer, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to subtract y from here. I'm going to subtract y, and I get 3y equals 12. 3y equals 12. Let me write it here. Divide by 3, y equals 4. So let's just talk about that one more time. Let's do the steps one more time. Okay? One more time. This is a more complex probability problem. I can see in my question stem, I'm thinking like a test maker, and hopefully you have some answer choices with this one. I know it's a probability question. What's the probability of selecting a yellow marble the probability. They're giving us the probability. The probability of selecting a yellow marble is 1/4. How many yellow marbles are there in the bag? They're flipping the question on us. They're not asking us to find probability. They're giving us the probability and asking us to find out how many are yellow. They're giving us a bunch of other values, but they're not giving us the yellow value. We have to go out and find it. So if probability is part over whole, we know the part is the yellow, making that y. Okay, over whole, 5 plus 7 plus y, all three of them. 5 plus 7 is 12 plus y. We cannot combine those because it's addition. If it were multiplication, we could, but it's not. It's addition. And we know that that equals, because this probability equals 1/4. In order to find the y, I need to cross multiply. 4y equals 12 plus y. Subtract y. 3y equals 12. Divide by 3. Y equals 4. All right, now let's get it complex. Now let's say, so we know, we know that we have 4 yellow marbles here. So it's 5 red, 7 blue, and 4 yellow. Okay, we got it. Once a yellow marble is picked and taken out of the bag, what's the probability of selecting a red? Now be careful. 5 plus 7 is 12. Plus 4 is 16, right? And you might go, oh, 16, 5 over 16. There we go. No, we picked a yellow out of there. What did that do to the bottom? This 4 became a 3. So this 16 became a 15. You got to remember that bottom number changes. The yellow didn't just change, the whole changed too. That's where a lot of people get messed up. Be careful. And then 5 over 15 is 1 over 3. So that's the compound probability when multiple things are happening. All right, let me go a couple more. Okay, next thing I want you to know before we leave today, and I'm going to do my giveaway at the end because I'm just too far in the math. Sorry, we'll talk some questions in a minute. I want to make sure you guys got a lot out of this math session. When you are asked questions, you will see some of these on the Elementary Ed 5003. 5003 and 7003 is typically just math. You don't have to really think too much about student progression of mathematical thinking, but the 7813, the 5008, middle school math, and the 5165, the new high school math book that we're working on, it's all math plus what is the student doing wrong for like tough questions in calculus and stuff. I'll talk about it in a minute. It's overwhelming. But when we talk about students in the elementary stages, so this wouldn't be for the Praxis Core. This would be more for your teacher certification exams in your subject area. They start off in the concrete stage, where they're taking those base 10 bucks and they're sticking them together, or they're taking things and they're taking paper clips on the table, and then they're taking away one, and then they see how many paper clips they got back. You have to have that concrete stage. Then they have the representational stage, where they might do something like this. They draw 3 boxes and they cross out 1. And then they see there's 2 left. And then the abstract stage is where they're just sort of, it's almost like reading and math are very similar. Abstract stage is like that reading comprehension, where you're forming pictures in your mind and you're kind of seeing things in an abstract way. You're seeing feeling when you're reading. I'm talking about reading here. You're seeing feelings, you're visualizing a scene and stuff like that. Same thing happens in math. You're visualizing the number line, you're visualizing negatives versus positives. You're thinking about like, oh, well, 1/2 is bigger than 2/3. Like, you're visualizing the circle and things like that. That's the abstract stage. And you need this to do algebra and geometry because there's some abstract concepts. But this is the way it works. And I always tell people to think CRAE, concrete, representational, abstract, right? And 9 times out of 10, if they're asking you something like this, it may be like, oh, the kid is still in the concrete stage. She needs to work with more base 10 blocks or something, or manipulatives. Okay. All right. Somebody is at my door. Talk amongst yourselves for 1 second. Let me just stop sharing here, and I'm just going to turn this off. Guys, there was someone at my door and it was a worker who needed to start something. So I'm so sorry. Here we go. All right. So I love the webinar. It helps me so much. Good. Renata, I can study and do all the practice tests and get them right. But when it's time for a test, I go blank. I understand. The more you do this, the better you're going to get. So just keep practicing. Okay. All right. Let's go. So sorry I had to do that. Let's go to the last couple of questions here. This is going to be the student progression of like thinking, and it's basically just math. Okay. So you say number 8 here, I can see my answer choices. I'm looking at them first because I'm thinking like a test maker. He memorizes 5 minus 2 equals 3. This is more abstract. This is number sense and what's it called? Math. Oh my gosh, math facts, right? Pulling up the cards, they're memorizing it. I find that memorization is very important in math and in reading. There are certain things memorization helps you with, but you have to know the processes, right? He draws 5 blocks and crosses out 3. That's going to be representation. He remembers. A and C are the same. Here's something on test day you want to think about when you have words, okay? Not problems, not numbers. If something is similar, 2 of the same thing, it's like 2 of the same thing, you only need 1. You can only have 1 correct answer. And therefore, A and C are out because they're like the same thing. All right. So now we're down to B and C. And it says he puts 5 blocks on the table and then removes 2. So we're looking for the concrete phase, and D is the best one there. Okay. Memorizing and remembering, those are abstract. Those are like just in your mind. Drawing is the representation, but actually having to pick up the blocks and put them down, that is going to be your concrete stage. And this one here, this is going to be our last one. A lot of people find these difficult. Here's a trick to these, okay? We want to make sure that we're focusing in on distribution and our negatives, combining like terms. That's typically where the student makes a mistake. It says here, at what step does the student make a mistake? I can see we've got steps here and the answers. I gotta tell you what step the student is on. I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that distribution. Let's take a look at step 1. We've got we're not doing the PEMDAS. We can't combine like terms inside of the. We're not doing the parentheses. Let's go here. PEMDAS. Okay. We cannot combine anything under these parentheses because x plus 3 they're not like terms. X and 3s cannot go together. If it were x times 3, we could, but we can't. So parentheses is out. Exponent, they're not there. Now we have multiplication. Well, multiplication is distribution. So let's do that. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, that one's correct. Then we have negative 5 times x, negative 5x, and negative 5 times positive 3 is negative 15. Here's where they might get you. They might have it be like this, where it's plus 15. A lot of times the distribution is the issue. They forgot to bring the sign over. Be on the lookout for that. When there are negatives in here, when there's distribution, make sure you zero in on that. 9 times out of 10, it's that, but I didn't make it that because I wanted to make it harder for you. All right. So that's one way, but it looks good. Step 1 is just the problem. Step 2 is good. Step 3, let's have a look. Now we're combining. We have 4x minus 5x. 4 minus 5. What does that equal? That equals negative 1. Negative 1x, right? Well, here we just have a positive x. Be careful. You might not have seen that, right? This is actually negative x. Step 3 is where they made the mistake. So again, it's with that negative. It's either going to happen with the negative or it's going to happen with the distribution. All right. That is the end. Get me some questions in the chat. I'm going to give away some books. So, all right. I'm giving away 3 books today. Sorry, I waited till the end. You've got to be present in the webinar to win them. Right now, we're going to do the 7003. This is our latest elementary education book. It is the one that a lot of states switched to. A lot of states went from this one, the 5001, to this. The only difference is the teaching reading. This is heavier on the foundational skills of reading. All right. Now, if you need more help with math, my books are amazing. I have online courses where I walk you through every single thing, and they're 20% off if you are in this webinar, and you're going to get that email from us. So make sure, and I'm going to show you exactly how they're laid out in just a second. So let's do the 7001. All right, let's see who is the winner. We're drawing names randomly, and I'm scrolling over here to see where they are. Please hold. All right. So the 7001, we have Melissa Pappin. Melissa Pappin, are you in the chat? Pappin, Pappin. Melissa Pappin, we'll see. And let's do the 5001. 5001. Who's got that one? Let me see here. Okay, hang on. Kanisha Brooks. Kanisha Brooks, you're getting this book. And if you don't need it, just gift it to somebody. And the 7811, which has the math in it, as a 7813, that's going to go to Talika Barber. Talika Barber. So let's see if you guys are in here. We've got Pappin. Is Pappin in here? I don't know. Let's see. They're going so fast. I don't know if Kanisha got one. Kanisha's in here. I see you, Kanisha. And let me know if she's in here. I said Melissa Pappin. She in there? Melissa, got you. Kanisha, you're here. And then what was the other one I said? Hang on. Kanisha. Talika, are you in there? Let me know. All right, we're going to email you. We're going to email you this. And we're going to email you everything you need if you won the book. She's got it written down out there. Okay, let's see. I don't know if she's in here. If she comes back, let me draw one more name for the 7811. I have one that's Pamela Williams. Is Pamela Williams in the chat? Pamela Williams. Let me know. All right, now, the reason why I'm giving those books away, I'm going to give them away in every webinar, but I had to buy all the books and have them sent to my house in order for me to distribute them physically on my website. It's a whole thing. So anyway, we'll figure it out. But let me just see if they're in here. If they're not, we'll pull a couple of more names. All right, let me show you where to get my free resources. If you want more free math, first of all, this webinar is definitely where you need to be. But look at this. This guy has been doing this website called Math Drills forever. I've been using this since I started teaching, like, I don't even know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. You can put in the search bar up here what you're looking for. So like slope, intercept, right? Up here, search it. He's got a ton of worksheets. Notice that this one here, somebody was asking me for this. This one here, I'll just zoom in. It's a little blurry, but when you can download it, you take the standard form, put slope intercept form, and he's got the answer keys here. It's a little blurry because I'm zooming in. Sorry about that. But this is a great place to do worksheets. Just type it in. Another thing you can do, you can go into ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, I got a math problem that had a line and then it had this thing and it said, oh, why does it do X, Y, and Z? I have no idea what it's talking about. Can you give me a problem like that? It will tell you. You can dictate into ChatGPT and say like, it had like 2X minus 4. I don't really remember, but it said this, and it will give you problems. It'll generate you worksheets. Ask the AI. It will help you. Also, this math skills, go to this guy's website, show him some love or them some love. I don't know who runs this site. It's probably a bunch of people, but you just put in what you need to work on and they'll generate worksheets with answer keys for you. It's awesome if you need that muscle memory and all of that. This really, 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 really helps. This math skills. You can get it for, look at these. Let's say you were not really good at fractions or something like that, like adding fractions or ordering decimals or something like that. Look at this, adding fractions sheet. I mean, just so many worksheets. If you want to get that muscle memory down in math, which I highly recommend you do, don't just try to memorize answers on a math test. It's not going to work. All right. So free resources here on my webinars page. I'm doing the foundations of reading in the 5205 next week. This is all for my reading people, but I have all these other webinars. They're all recorded just like the one is today. Free study guides, all, everything that you need. I got 7001 over here, ESOL. I got leadership. I got interview processes, all of that for you guys. And then of course, if you go to, let me go here, the link in the link in the description and also the link in the email we're sending you, this is everything I offer for math. Okay. All of these books have math. We are also working on a 5165 book. So those of you who are, working on your high school certification exam for math, we are working on a book. It's extensive. It's very, very tough. But these are all the things that you can get for math. Now, if you look at this 5003, the 7003 is the same. This is the online course. This has everything. I go through every single math question in the book. I do it by question. You can skip ahead. I have a video for every single question. I highly recommend this. Or if you're taking, you can do one or the other, my Praxis Core online course. All right. You can get just the math. All you have to do is, this is the whole thing. If you go to online courses, Praxis Core Math, the 5733, same thing. I go through every single practice test question in the math with a video. We talk about where it comes from, what domains, the whole thing that I did today, but it's just very extensive. All right. Beyond that, I have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We hit 100,000 subscribers, you guys, just recently. It only took me 11 years to hit 100,000 subscribers, but not everybody wants to talk about math skills and reading instruction and all that, but we still did it. Let me see here. And we are, really excited about our channel. And we do have a math playlist on here. If you want to piece together your own training without spending any money, there's tons there. I'm on TikTok as well. I love TikTok. We're at about 34,000 on TikTok. TikTok's an interesting place. I got to keep it short. And sometimes people have questions here. I love doing micro learning on TikTok. So that has been super fun. So follow me over there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. You're probably watching me there live. So that is, in a nutshell, everything I have for you. We had 200 people on today, which was awesome. We had so many people sign up. Remember, you are a math person. Stop telling yourself you're not a math person, because every time you say, I'm not a math person, I'm not good at math, you're telling yourself a story and it's not true. Okay. Just keep practicing. Have AI help you too. If you're like, hey, I really don't get this. Like, what is it about this that I don't understand? It will show you how to do it too. And even if you're just giving it little fragments of things that you've seen on a math test, it will help you. All right. So you guys, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Those of you who are math teachers, be on the lookout for our 5165. It's going to be very comprehensive. Those of you who need extra help, let us know. Email us at info@kathleenjasper.com if you have any questions. And my team, like Yana, they are there to help you guys, and we will be in touch. And those of you who won, you'll be getting books from me. No problem. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.